Welcome, Lake County residents, to another episode of
Lake Life.
This week's guest was Patti Diener, an amazing woman who wrote this just dynamic book, After the Fire.
Which I encourage everybody to read, especially anybody that's from Lake County, because you're really going to know where she's talking about. It was very capturing. Once you start reading it, I didn't want to put it down.
True story.
It was great.
And thankfully the chapters are long, so
Yeah.
you actually get through a good piece of the book.
But you had little spots where you could stop, which I like that, because
little
if you're
snack time, little drink time,
or if you're working, you can take a little break and
go
come
back
that.
to it.
So, but it is a fictional book. But as she'll tell you during her interview, it's a fictional history book, because there is a lot of facts in this that are true to fact.
Yeah.
She did a lot of research on it, and you listen to her story about how she even got to where she is.
Exactly.
It was really great.
And as the main characters are fictional, a lot of the other characters that kind of bring the whole book together are based on real people and real locations. So for Lake County residents, this is a real gem, because you're going to read this book and you're going to see the places in your head. You're going to be like, I know exactly where that is. Yeah. And I know who that is.
Right. Even though their names are
even the names have been changed, you're still going to know.
Yeah.
So it was a great read, and I really enjoyed it. Like I was saying before, it's a romance novel.
Yeah.
I don't really do romance novels. However, the characters in this book, and the whole thing about the fire department, it made it such a manly.
I think the romance part's there, but there was a lot of just things that were happening that necessarily was not part of the romance part, but it really gives you an idea. And for people who don't live here, it really gives you an idea of what we went through.
True story.
During the fire, and the people that were involved, and how things really went here, and the devastation of our community.
Yeah, it was
but also how the
fire.
Community came together.
Exactly.
So it's definitely a great read.
Lake County strong.
Yes.
That's us right there. Yeah. Lake County strong. Yeah, we have somehow our communities seem to we bounce back, and together we
fire after fire after fire.
Oh
so this is after the Valley Fire.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had a lot of other fires after
Since
that.
then,
Yes,
the big one, the
August
complex fire, I guess, being one of the largest in California. Now, I guess the Dixie
not
fire.
anymore. I think we're getting way down on the line, which is fine with me.
That's awful.
But So listen, and we're going to do this interview right now. And
let's introduce you to Patti. Yeah. All right, thank you. Welcome, folks, and this is Patti Diener, author of After the Fire.
All right, so we're so happy to have you here, Patti. Thank you for joining us. So,
thank you guys for asking me.
So we're kind of curious of, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into, being an author? How did this all come about?
Oh goodness, that was a lifelong dream since the 5th grade. Actually, I've always been a writer, but this particular book kind of took on a life of its own. It was not a planned book. I was actually writing another novel when this came out, but because of the Valley Fire in 2015, I couldn't focus on my manuscript I was writing. And my husband told me, you need to go somewhere to focus on this, because I wasn't finishing. So he suggested that I start taking like little mini breaks away from the house. And I was writing for a competition that weekend. That was my intention, is to just enter this competition. And it was like 2,000 words or something. And I started writing this book about the Valley Fire thing, and I'll just purge how I feel about what was going on and make it a happy ending, for all the people in our community, because it was so tragic and I was so devastated. So this was in November of 2015, and it was still really very fresh, really raw. And
because the fire just started.
The fire it was in September, so it was still, they had just gotten it out in October.
Fresh on everyone's minds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, I'll just write this short story about and I just started buzzing away, and all of this stuff started coming out, and I decided, well, I'll make it a novel and dedicate it to our people.
So
Okay.
did you ever enter the contest?
No. I mean, I wrote something different for it, but my energy wasn't in it, and it wasn't all that good. And it was a great
2,000
idea,
words
but-
isn't really very much.
No,
When I was
I-
going to
No.
college, I had to write an
Yeah.
essay, and they said 2,000 words. I thought to myself, well, I'll never be able to write that. And then by the time it was all done, I got through with my research. It was like, how do I cut all this
Words out,
stuff
yeah,
out to get
exactly.
to 2,000 words?
You're
That's
up
not
to
really that much. you know?
4,000 before
So,
you
yeah.
blink
They
an
call
eye.
it a short short.
Yeah.
There's competitions that are called the short shorts.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, but I just dove into the book.
Well, that's too bad, because I think you probably would have won, because your writing's very well.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
good, yeah.
Another time, maybe.
Yeah.
And so you said, you know, your husband recommended a place for you to escape to. Where does a person go to escape to?
Well, whenever I need to decompress about anything,
Yeah.
I always need to be by the ocean.
Okay.
So this particular time I was in Fort Bragg,
Nice.
and then after that I started renting houses in Mendocino, and
Okay.
so I go pretty
Little
regularly.
B&B thing.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
I like to have everything that I need to not have to get up and go anywhere.
Right,
So
yeah.
I usually will find a little house that I can rent and I can stay put, and that puts me in the right frame of mind.
Gotcha.
That's great.
So, reading into the book, you know, you kind of delve right into like, you know, like, whoa, okay, really capture our interest. Your research to me was just impeccable. I mean, how you came up with, like, how did you know that the Department of Toxic Substance Control, the Environmental Protection Agency were the agencies that were in control of doing all these cleanups? Besides the fact that you do have a firefighter for a husband, right? Battalion
Yeah,
chief.
yeah, he's retired battalion chief. But what I did is I read a lot of articles about the fire. During that time, I started getting a lot of stuff offline from like the Press Democrat, you know, the Chronicle, Sacramento Bee, local newspapers. I interviewed probably at least a dozen people,
Okay.
and because I wanted it to be as factual and as true to what really happened in the events as possible.
Gotcha.
And I felt that by bringing all this different, you know, people into it, it made it more true to life for what the people had to go through in order to clean up their home sites. Because it wasn't just, oh, okay, well now I'm just gonna put this into my insurance company and I'll get it all cleaned up and I'll get my money, we'll start over.
That's not the way it
Some of
happens.
this stuff took years for people.
Right.
Some of them were able to get it relatively quickly. But it was such a process, and there were so many entities.
Some are still rebuilding as
Yes,
we speak. Yeah.
so many entities are involved in something like that it is not a quick process. And like I loved that some of the people were so good about collaborating, and then other entities were not. But yeah, I just thought that was important to talk about that a little bit.
Excellent.
So like your book, you kind of say it's fictional, but when we were reading it, I'm sure anybody that read it that's local is, I mean, you know, that was really amazing to me, because, you know, when you read a book, you try to visualize where it's at and all this stuff. And for me, and we talked
Yeah.
about it, that it was really, like, we could visualize exactly where you were pinpointing things were, and you used the real names of some of the businesses and stuff,
Sure.
which was really nice that you did that. But is it the love affair and stuff, was that a fictional, or did that actually happen and you just changed the names, or so that was all fictional? Because I said, I wonder if that was all fictional.
Yeah,
or
right.
so,
No.
so
We,
parts of it
we
are
want
fictional.
the heroes and the
We
heroine
want-
to be
yeah.
real.
Yeah,
Well, they
that's
are
right.
real to me.
Right,
if that
yeah,
makes
and they're
any
real to
difference.
us,
Well,
too.
that was a
Yeah,
great book.
yeah,
I was like
yeah.
infatuated with that book. I couldn't wait for nighttime to come. I worked at night, and I couldn't wait for her to go to sleep so I could read. I was like, staying up till like 1 o'clock in the morning now. It's like,
How do you know what happens?
Yeah.
Well, the best thing that I can say is when I had to pitch this book, I did pitch it to some agents, and the one that I had most on the hook, she ended up she was not going to stick with her job very much longer, because she was promoting into something much larger at that point. But she told me, oh my gosh, this is really good. This reminds me of like a Nicholas Sparks book, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the only way I can describe to you, the best way to describe to you is my characters are to the Valley Fire what Jack and Rose were to the Titanic.
Okay, yeah, that's
So
fair.
the
That's
characters, the main protagonists are fictitious, but the event was real. So
Right.
some people, you know, and later on down the road, they're gonna call this a historical fiction,
fair. Right,
because it was a real event,
yeah.
but the main characters were fictitious. Now I have to I have to give credit where credit is due, though. Although I got a lot of this information from all the people that I know, there's a little tidbit that a lot of people may not know, is that I worked for several years for the Cherno Excavating Company as a secretary.
Oh.
Okay.
And
little inside info there.
Yeah, and so when I was trying to figure out how am I gonna get someone from the outside looking in on this community to fall in love with Lake County, well, how would that work?
Right.
Well, the hotel was housing all of these outside contractors coming in.
Okay.
And then, bing, the light bulb went on for me because, my ex-employers, who I adore, by the way, Josh and Jessica Cherno, they, from just doing the books with them and living that life of understanding what goes on in construction, that made a lot of sense to me to bring a guy that came in as a contractor on the outside to come in. So, in all the, I think it was just meant for me to write it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The characters, and then the characters that go along with the characters. So Gabe, the main character in that, he befriends, his girlfriend's best friend's husband, right?
Caleb.
Caleb, who is a firefighter. By the way, I love all the biblical names, like.
I don't know how that happened, to be
Okay,
honest with
that was
you.
so okay.
That was
Just
really
a coincident thing.
Yeah.
It really was. My names, people have always asked me, how do you come up with your characters' names? I said, truly, they come to me. I don't
This is the
research
character
them.
that I feel that his name should be Caleb.
Caleb,
Okay. Jimmy's fire story about the captain losing his fingers. Was this a true story? Fiction?
Yes.
It is a true story. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of the fire captain. I'm thinking that.
You're talking about when they were, had to go into their fire shelters?
Yes, but he tells the story though, I believe, at an event
It was
that
with
was at the brick house,
Yeah.
the firehouse. So it was a fireman's event. I don't remember, fundraiser or something. In the book, they were at a party, and they tell the story. I think like at the bar or something.
There was a couple of different. To be honest with you, I did so many interviews, and some of that stuff got into the book and some of it didn't. And when you work on a project for 4 years, to be honest with you, I can't remember if it. But
Can't
yes,
put
there
your
was.
finger on it.
There was a burnover crew.
Okay.
That the Helitat crew.
Yeah, I remember that part in the story
So
as well.
that yeah. But I don't. Jimmy telling the story. I think the most thing that stands out with me about Jimmy is he had told the story when they were playing cards at the table and the girls were in the other room.
Right.
He tells the story about what really happened to him when he was up on Cobb and the firestorm came and literally was wiping everything out.
So that was an actual event.
That was an actual
wow.
event too. That was from interviews from some of the people and some of the fire personnel. And I got a lot of my statistics from Chief Willie Zapata,
Yeah.
because
I like that.
he and I had a very long heart-to-heart on the fire. It was something that was just so it was so touching to me to be able to talk to these people and learn what they go through.
Yeah.
I hear what my
And
husband goes
from
through, but
Willie,
other people,
that's
it's
saying a lot. I mean, from Willie, because we know just how much he loves this community. I mean, it's very, very.
He and my
evident.
husband both kind of grew up in Lake County,
Right.
and so
Right.
you protect your own, and when you feel that you have failed to protect your own, there's nothing more gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
But the honest truth is they literally were putting themselves in
Right.
the line of fire for real.
Exactly.
And they continue to do so.
Yeah.
So they're my heroes.
Well, that's like, I mean, like, one of the things on the whole thing, like, this brought back to me is because I was running the shelter at the time here, and we had like 400 fire victims, and I mean, we tried to keep it upbeat because, we knew that they were gonna have to go back and have all this devastation that they had no idea yet what
Right.
was gonna be happening.
It was tragedy every day.
And so for them, so we really tried to keep our center more lighthearted, music, barbecues, trying to make it more of a family thing, because we knew when they left here, we'd already heard, and I've seen some of it, from the fire people coming in and out, of course, of how devastating it was gonna be. And so for me, reading the story about what happened out there kind of makes it relate to what I had to take care of here. And when people said, oh, I went up and seen the property, seen the devastation, I'm thinking to myself, you didn't really see the devastation. I saw the devastation of the people.
Absolutely.
And what they went through, and it was trying to keep them in the positive
Well, this
moved,
became a
which is
trauma
what-
center.
Right, yeah, it was
Yeah,
just,
people's-
for months and months and
yeah.
months, we just went on from fire to fire to fire. We started with the
Yeah.
Rocky Fire and then
The
Valley
Jerusalem
Fire,
and,
Jerusalem,
yeah.
Clayton.
Yeah.
You know, we just kept having fires, and so I felt like, well, it took me 2 years after we finally put me in a recovery center to kind of clean up everything here. So reading the book kind of made it relate to what I'd already listened to people talk about. So that's why I was saying, well, it's fiction, but it's not fiction. So, you know, I like what you said, the historical fiction part of it is definitely gonna be remembered. So, you know, great book, great reading.
Oh, thank you.
And it was just, like I said, it was nice to see and hear and be able to visualize, you know, the true fact of what really, you know, I think you really captured what really happened in the fires and the feelings that people had during that time.
So, both Joyce and I, we read the book, and afterwards we talked about the spiritual side of this book, and it didn't occur to us, of course, till later, and we love how you hooked us into that, Max, the character, and how Gabe meets Max in the bar, right? And so you're thinking that this is
He's the first person
yeah,
that he really meets.
exactly, and you're thinking that, wow, okay, this is a character in the book, and then it's not till like the middle of the book that you run into this character again, and then the big stumper is at I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but
Yeah,
he
don't
meets
ruin it,
that.
don't
Yeah, I won't
say
ruin
it,
it for
don't
anybody,
spoil
but
Spoiler alert!
Stop,
yeah,
stop.
when he later meets the character again, and it's like, wow, mind blower! I didn't see this coming, Patty. You just for me, it knocked one out of the park.
Well, that's what I
Oh,
said too.
I'm
That's what
so
we were talking
glad.
about. I said, well, this is the part that really like stunned me.
Yeah.
You know. So I like, yeah. Let's not give them the.
No,
spoiler
I
thing.
want.
This is-
Hey,
this
folks,
is-
you gotta go out. You gotta get the
Now
book.
you have to know.
Now
you have to read
know
the book.
Yeah,
After the
yes.
Fire, Patti Diener, folks. You can get it on Amazon. That's right, right?
Yeah.
And you can order it direct from her. We'll get that info for you before the
Sure.
show is over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the both of us, I think that was
Yeah,
you know,
just-
and
Oh, that's great.
yes,
The
the
capture.
ladies keep saying it's a love story. Yes, it's a love story. Do I read love stories? Absolutely not. I'm not a big love story guy. This book, though, these characters, the love story set aside, the characters that are in this book are enough to draw you. The events that happen in the book are more than manly. And if you support firefighters, which I'm sure we all do, there
Small
are
communities.
regular, everyday heroes. We can't do enough for these guys. This book is a tell-all. It tells you kind of, it gets into
Right, it's not
the
just
meat
the
and
love
greed.
story is part of the story,
Yeah.
but really it's really talking about, you know, the fires and the whole process that everybody had to go through.
And the
And if you
and the
didn't
healing
lose your
process,
house-
the human
Right.
factor
The
of
healing
this
process,
whole,
that's why it's called After the Fire,
Yeah.
because for me, the fire was an event,
Right,
but the trauma
continues on
continues
today.
on, and without
today, and probably with all of us.
Yes.
I mean, I know when I hear sirens, the first thing, is that PTSD of,
Yeah, you
oh
get
God.
bad though.
Where's
I
it
do
gonna
have
be?
it
It gets
bad.
really bad.
I get it
Yeah.
bad.
But you know, the story, the book was really good to. I think anybody that is having, you know, reactions to the fires and everything that have been through it, this book really helped me personally with because, like I said, I seen the trauma from the people, the feelings, the horrifying things that they were thinking and going through, and everything changed every time somebody come in and said something. Their emotions
It was
would either,
triggering.
you know, either get better or worse, or you know, I mean, so you didn't know how people were going to handle it. So for me, reading this and dealing with this here, I didn't get to see that out there or so much because I was dealing with so many different people. So to see that part of it along with this part of it really helped me bring things
Tied it
together
together
to
for
where now when somebody talks about it, because you know people think, oh well, it's years ago, what can you know get over it or whatever. You never
You don't.
get over
No,
that.
you don't.
learn to live through it.
You never get over the trauma.
Yeah.
You don't get over, you know, what happened, and you're right. You try to learn to live with it.
and you learn to support each other.
And,
Yeah.
and reading the book
Most
and
important,
hearing
supporting each
about
other.
right, hearing about everything that like how things took place has made me put things in a different perspective. So when somebody talks about it that went through it, I'm able to see it under the way they're seeing it because I read your book. So the reality of the book was great for people who are going to try to help fire victims that have or fire recovery because it, like I said, it doesn't go away. But this book I think put for me a perspective of how they're seeing things because they're the ones that went to their homes and seeing the devastation that you described in the book. So it really helped me to be able to where I feel like I'm going to be able to help people better by reading this book, and the information that you had in there was really good.
Yeah.
So I think anybody that is even dealing with recovery from the fires, of any fire, this is a good book for them to get the perspective of what actually is happening in that situation, because we can't all run up there and see
and
it.
maybe
Exactly.
maybe some sort of like therapy. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's the book. I mean, for me, like, you know, I was just saying how I hear fire sirens. Okay, 4 homes burned down in my neighborhood, and when you're on top of your roof, thinking that you're going to actually do something with the garden hose. Folks, we're kidding ourselves, okay?
Yeah,
the fire was so hot.
It's so dangerous.
And
to even
so
think you
dangerous,
can do that.
and you're putting the lives of firefighters, even though you're thinking, I'm saving my home. Probably not.
Well,
You're just making a muddy
not
mess
only-
with some water.
Not only are you not saving your homes, because I had some people did this during the Rocky Fire, and some friends of mine, I really got upset with them actually, because they're there, and what happened is the firefighters had to leave what they were doing to get to them to save them.
Right.
So we've taken a whole crew from trying to protect and keep people safe
Yeah.
to going and
Or their
protecting a
homes,
couple.
yeah.
And yes, they did save their home because they had to be there. But the reality is you know, when you get the warning, leave.
Yeah.
Just leave with the warning is what I say. I tell everybody I know, if you get a warning, you see a fire, you have some place to go, please leave, just leave. I grab my purse, I go. You know, my kids are like, well, aren't you going to take this? No, let's go.
Yeah.
None of this is important. Our lives are
The
important.
lives are what
None of
is
that
important.
stuff. And I think people who have went through all these fires realize how unimportant stuff is. Stuff is not important.
Yeah,
You know?
stuff is stuff, and as you know, some of their friends in the book, you know, that have to learn to replace things. It's amazing to me how quickly community can stand up for each other. It's like what you guys did here at the center, being here for people.
And
The
just
fact
recently too with the cash fire.
Yeah.
Again, you know, every time.
that, like, sometimes
they're-
your small communities
Yeah.
tend to bolster each other quicker than when you waiting for outside entities to come, which I'm not, you know, saying anything bad about that, but it seems like we are there for each other in a small community much faster than waiting for the big companies and the outside entities to come in and rescue us, because we're already there for each other.
Well, I've talked
And you have to
to-
just reach out.
Yeah, I talked to many people that came from all over the world, and a couple of them just sat down and said, you know, we have traveled all over for big fires. They're older, so they've been in it for like 30
Sure.
years. And they actually said, we have never seen a county ever in any country we've been in that came together, no matter where you lived at, like this county has
Yeah.
come together. They were amazed at how it didn't make any difference anymore that you were north or south, or your rivals for school, or
It has
any of that
nothing to
stuff.
do with
It
it.
had
Yeah.
nothing to
It's
do with it.
still
And
like, these are our
yeah,
people.
Yeah,
And
they just said they were totally amazed that they had never been in a place. And this one guy goes, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I travel all over the world. I have
That's
never
why it's
seen
so
a
great here.
county that just everybody, everything,
Takes care of
whatever
their own.
needs. You know, you come in, you say, hey, they go, what do you need? We'll do it. And he goes, and how people were taking food to them and water to them, and just everything, just, you know, putting their lives on the line to go up to the fires to try to make sure they had food and water and everything like that.
Yeah.
He said we had to kind of like, no, you got to stay away. You know,
Yeah.
he goes, but it was really
just wanted
nice
to
that the
help.
people
Yeah.
wanted, they were willing to put
Lake-
their lives
Lake
in
County
danger.
strong.
Right.
Yeah.
They were, yeah, that's
Strong
right.
for
They were
real.
willing to put
And-
their lives in danger, but
You know, and Joyce, you say that, and during all the fires, if you notice, like the news, you know, they talked about Sonoma County and Napa and the loss there, and it just felt like,
they
good
forgot
Lord,
us a
they
lot.
forgot us, yeah.
Red
And
Cross
we had,
learned from us though. Red
Yeah.
Cross was the one that
Yeah.
actually did say on the news that they
Right.
learned a lot from us and our fires.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's your next thing?
Yeah,
you
what's the
plan
next
on
big
doing?
book?
What's your next book? We're waiting.
We're
you
waiting.
know? We're waiting for that book
Well,
now.
Another page turner. You can't wait to go to bed at night so you can read the book.
Oh, so thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
I really, that means a lot
And,
to me.
and let me tell you, I
because-
haven't read it in a lot of years. Somebody said, I said, God, I never have time to read because
Right.
I you know, if I get a good book, I don't want to put it down.
Right,
And
it's
that's what I
hard
told her. I
to-
Your
said,
book was
once
like-
you start this,
Yeah.
you're not going to want to stop. You're just like, God, when am I
You're
going
gonna
to
wanna
have
find out what happens
Exactly.
next.
Yeah.
So it was definitely something that
A
I stuck
page
with
turner.
and you know read every night because I
Oh,
didn't
that's
want
what
to.
every
I
author
didn't want-
wants to
I
hear.
didn't want to put it down, so it was a fabulous book. I'm waiting for your next one. What's the next thing happening?
Well, I did say that because living with a firefighter for over 35 years and
Congratulations on
being,
that.
That's a monumental task. You're not retiring from that, are you?
well, no, not that. But you know, he and I being together for that long, I've seen and been through a lot with him. And I said this last one, nothing really fazed me until the Valley Fire, and then we had the Clayton Fire, which was that was literally at my door, and we almost lost our home.
Right.
But I just thought that I was so traumatized for so long about fires that I didn't think I could write another fire book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started this other trilogy, and I've finished the first one and outlined the next two.
A trilogy. All right.
Yeah, but it's about a small, like, I'm always probably going to be gravitating
Yes,
towards
the
small
small
towns.
towns.
Well, that's where you're
But
from, though, right?
yes, I
Yeah,
love
okay.
small
Always say you have to
towns.
write about what
you
you
love
know
and what
you
you-
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this next book is called The Clock Tower of Maple Creek. It is a fictitious story about a small town in Kentucky.
Oh.
But everybody keeps talking to me about Gabe and Sarah from After the Fire. What happens with Gabe and Sarah?
Well, that's what I was going to
Well,
ask
if
you. I was
everybody
like,
wants to
are
know,
we going to
do they
have
have a
after
baby?
the
Is there a
fire stage 2
miracle?
or
Like-
something, you know?
So, you know, I will give you guys a little inside scoop about
Alright.
my alternate ending for After the Fire.
Okay.
And I don't want to give too much away, but it basically took them in the direction where it would be the whole, everything was perfect, and it wrapped everything up in a neat little box.
Right.
But my editor was like,
But real life
why
isn't
would
that
you,
way.
Yeah,
why
why
would
would
you,
you sugarcoat
you've
that,
been
yeah.
so real all
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
time, why are
exactly.
you going to wrap everything up in such a,
You did a good job.
which is not,
Good
I'm
way,
not gonna tell you guys the ending, you
Yeah.
have to read the book, but
We are. When do we
because
get?
the Valley Fire was 2015,
Okay.
the very next year was the Clayton
Right.
Fire,
Correct.
and that was 2016, and it was in Lower Lake where she
Of
lives.
course.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So
Good
I
knowledge,
may
alright.
have to write a sequel.
Yay! Like to hear that.
Well, if you want anybody to preview it before you go to print, I'll be
You
happy
always,
to do
you
that.
always need people to do that. Yes.
I was like, because that's what it is, and I was like, okay, so you got to do a book 2 here. I mean, this is, you can't end it like this. We
Kind
gotta,
of a
we gotta know how
cliffhanger,
this,
you know.
And I know, you know, and you're right. I agree with, you know, no lives are perfect. The happy ending thing is just, you know.
It is a happy ending.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just how you want
Right.
to, you know, it doesn't have to all be wrapped up in a little
Yeah,
neat little
right.
bow.
Well,
And
I
you kinda
think
wanna know
life
how
is a
Gabe-
happy ending. So.
What does he do?
Well, and his healing process, you know, I mean, he's, you know, a pretty traumatic situation. I don't want to ruin it for
Yeah,
anybody.
no,
Folks, After the Fire, you
Yeah.
got to check it out. It's a great book.
We have to stop him because he wants to tell it all.
Yeah, exactly.
I know,
No,
but you know what? Yeah, you guys will.
But
get some
yeah, I
type
would
of it.
cannot wait. I would love to see an equal to this here to continue
I think
on
that
the
maybe it's
story.
been enough time gone by. I might be able to work on it, but it was really hard on me because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
will
I'm
tell
sure.
you,
Yeah, it
there was
brings
a
up
lot of
memories and-
crying
yeah.
writing this
Oh, I
book,
can
and all the
imagine. Yeah.
interviews that I did with the people that really went through these things.
Dude, I just
Every
cried during the
interview,
book
we
reading
ended up
this.
crying, you know. So
So I can
So-
imagine what you went through writing the book because I did a few little crying spots reading the book, you know, because
Yeah.
it's so real.
Yeah.
It's so
I
real.
didn't cry.
Oh, he
because he's a real man.
He's a real man. He's a real man.
So I hear that you're a ghostwriter as well. So
Yes.
what do you have? Like, so do you have any suggestions to, you know, other beginner authors? Maybe you offer services.
Okay, so let me clarify my ghostwriting skills. I have not ghostwritten a book.
Okay.
I ghostwrite for people for their blogs, specifically physicians, but I can, you know, anybody that wants to tell something in first person
Mhm.
from their experiences, I can do that for them and kind of make it flow a little
So
bit
like
easier.
a co-author.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I will there's a doctor in the Bay Area that has a blog on their website. And what I do is I sit down and I talk to them about, well, what kind of stuff are you doing right now in your practice? And well, what do you think that patients would want to know? And then we sit and we talk about it a little bit. And I go, well, I'll just write something up for you and I'll email it to you. You approve it. And if we like it, then I'll post it onto your site. And it's all going to be written as if you wrote it.
Okay.
Because it's really their information,
Right.
but it's in my words.
Gotcha.
But it's, you know, so it's a collaboration.
You're that word person.
Yes,
See, me,
the
I have-
wordsmith.
I could write
Okay.
something down, but I can't like put it. I have to give it to
She's the
somebody
Scrabble
else.
expert.
I can write down this is what I want to say, and then I give it to somebody else to say this is what I want to say, make me sound good.
Yeah, and that's pretty
I
much
used to
what
do
it
that to
is.
the newspapers, you know. It's like it's like, well, this is what I want to say now. You need to put it, make me sound good. Don't make me sound like this, you know. So.
Well, you know what's interesting is since I self-published this book.
Right.
And the reason I self-published it is because I wanted to get it out to our people.
Okay.
It was for Lake County. It was
Gotcha.
for our people.
Our people. Yeah.
And sometimes when you go the route with the agent and the publishing house, and then by the time you get all that, it's still a year out before it goes to print.
Right.
And everybody was waiting. So I went ahead and I self-published it, and I think that it was well received.
Yeah.
It's getting great reviews.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not as widely distributed as if you had a big house.
A big house, yeah.
So I am going to look to do that, but since
Redistribute it through a big
yes,
figure
I
out.
would rather.
There's a place out of Sonoma County that's supposed.
There's lots
Yeah.
of small boutique
I
publishing,
gotcha.
print
Yeah.
houses, but my point was with this was because I was able to do that. I've had a lot of people come out of the woodwork with, this is a really great story. Maybe you want one with this. I've got this story I want to tell you. Would you write the book for me? So
Like,
everybody
okay.
wants me to write their story, and it's
Right.
like I have probably 20 different stories already
Yeah.
ahead of you in my head that I want
Right.
to write before I can write your story.
Gotcha.
So that's probably not something that I would be interested in doing because I have too many stories of my own
Gotcha.
that I want to do.
All right. Contact you if anybody that did want to contact you.
Oh goodness. So.
You have an email.
Yeah, so pdienerauthor.com is pdienerauthor@gmail.com. So pdienerauthor@gmail.com. That's my email address. But I have a website, pattydienerwrites.com. And that's
Patti
and it's,
Diener Writes.
yeah, and it's also got a
Can
link
they
to
email you through your website
they
too?
can, yeah, they can there's a buy link for my book on the website too.
Oh, okay.
And then also, you could just go to Amazon if you want, but I like to send people to independent bookstores too.
Okay.
So in Northern California, you might find that it's in, your local indie bookstore.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
always better to
So-
buy local. You know,
Yeah,
shop
like
buy
to do
local, shop local.
I'm a big
yeah.
shop
All
local.
about all about shopping
I
local.
don't like to buy online. I don't like to,
Yeah.
I
I
really
get
want to
it.
support our local,
Yeah.
our local businesses, whether it's here in Lake County or anywhere, because without them, I mean, Amazon and all those have just really taken a lot out of the family businesses. So
True.
let's shop local, guys.
Shop local, folks.
Yeah.
All right, folks, you saw it here. After the Fire, author Patti Diener. We got her website information, her email information up there if you want to reach out. Remember, there's a link in her website,
pattydienerwrites.com is the website
and there's a link there to the
buy
book.
the book.
There you go. Let the healing begin. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. It was great.
All right. Good job. Well, that was a great interview with Patti. She was, what a joy to sit back and listen to her. And, don't forget to like.
And subscribe.
Okay. And, reach out to Patti. Check her book out. She's got her website. We put the link up there for you. You can order it directly from there or Amazon.
Amazon, you can order order it from her. Maybe you
Direct.
could talk her into signing it or
There
something
you
for
go.
you.
Yeah,
If
you
you
can
order it
always
directly from her,
send
you
her an email.
probably could get a little signature on it. So, which
Yeah.
is always nice to have the author's signature. She does
Absolutely.
have some future books coming out. She's working on some other things. We've really encouraged her to write a equal to this book here because we've had more things that have happened, and we're
Yeah.
kind of hoping that she'll maybe continue on this. But this
Yeah.
was,
And
as she said, this was a
we
really
kind of-
hard book for her to write because
Yeah.
it was so true to life to her.
Exactly.
She
Yeah.
went through a lot of this with her and her husband, and they almost lost their house in one of the fires, and so they just it was very emotional. So
Clayton Fire.
yeah, Clayton Fire. So
Close.
she wasn't so sure if she could go through it again, and I understand that. That's a very
Yeah.
stressful thing. So, but we were hoping, but she does have
We'll
other books.
see what happens.
She says she's working on another. Well, she was originally working on the novel,
Yeah.
and took a break to write this one. So hopefully she gets back to
Yeah,
writing that novel, and we get that book out. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm excited
I'm
to
looking
see.
forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
She's a great writer,
And
great
I
author.
love these characters, Gabe and Sarah. They're
Mm-hmm.
great characters. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's even said she might revisit this and
Yeah.
bring those characters back to
Right,
life.
that's what she's saying. I was trying to talk her into,
Yeah.
continuing on this book into another book, the story into another book, because there's so much more that happened after the Valley Fire
Exactly.
that would include a lot of this here. So we'll see what she does. But like I said, it takes a long time. Let's get her other novel out. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Exactly.
She is a great author. I don't care what she writes. I think we'll love it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
be sure to go in and subscribe on our website. Please don't forget to do that and like it, and and give us any inputs that you like. Yeah, we'd like to hear your inputs.
If you have an idea for a show, reach out to us. Our email address is lcptv@hotmail. We're always looking for great new hot topics. Maybe you see something in the community that you don't like, and you think that maybe we could bring it to light and let people know. Hey,
we're all for controversial stuff
that's
too.
Exactly. So we're not shy. So
Yeah.
reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Hear ideas for the show. Maybe we missed something that you know about. So reach out and say hello. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
See you next week.